皆様、
Thank you very much for waiting. It is time for us to start our briefing on new business strategy in the field of clinical trial in healthy living of Fujitsu Uvance. First, let us go over today's program. Our Executive Officer and EVP, Otsuka, will brief you on the new business strategy in the clinical trial field. That will be followed by a presentation of specific initiatives by the head of Healthy Living, Araki. We have with us CEO of Paradigm Health Inc., Mr. Kent Thoelke, as well as Dr. Koichi Goto, who is the Deputy Director of National Cancer Center Hospital East, to present today. Hamamatsu, who is the member of Healthy Living, will explain the new offering. That will be followed by a talk session by Araki, CEO Kent Thoelke, and Deputy Director Goto. We will entertain questions at the end, and we will have a photo session. We expect to finish at 11:30. Kuwahara from IR office will serve as the MC today. A part of today's presentation will be given in English. Japanese translation will be provided through simultaneous interpretation. Please use the receiver that has been distributed. A part of the slide and distributed materials are also in English. We hope to have your understanding. I will now invite our first speaker, Executive Director and VP, Naoko Otsuka. Hello, everyone. My name is Otsuka. Thank you for coming to the briefing on healthy living in Fujitsu Uvance, where we will explain about the new business strategy and partnership in the field of clinical trials. We have invited members of the media to this event to give you a progress report on the business of healthy living. I hope this event will deepen your understanding over healthy living business. One of the three materialities of Fujitsu is to improve people's well-being. In healthy living, we are focusing especially on the well-being so that we can create a society where each and every one of the people in this world would be able to select their own way of life that they want. We have been working on patient-centered healthcare services as well as innovative and efficient drug discovery that utilizes digital technologies. We announced today that we will start a business that would eliminate drug loss in Japan as part of the Healthy Living initiatives. Please imagine this. There are patients in Japan, in the United States, and suffering from rare diseases. They feel unwell and go to the hospital, take medical exams, and get a diagnosis. There is no standard of care for that disease. However, new drug for that disease may be under development somewhere in the world. This situation does not differ regardless of where you are, either in Japan or in the US. However, in no time, patients residing in the US will be asked if they are interested in being treated with the new drug. The patients can ask for that treatment or select not to get the treatment by that drug. On the other hand, Japanese patients would not be asked to participate in a trial. It is because in Japan, this drug is not approved. Patients who are denied access to new drugs do not have the option of selecting the new drug treatment. How unreasonable is this? There are 341 rare diseases which do not have established treatment. These are awaiting development of new drugs. Out of the drugs approved in the US and Europe, 143 are unapproved in Japan, of which 86 are not even under development in Japan. We will be approaching this issue using data intelligence, which combines data and AI. Through collection, processing, and standardization of medical data, we will digitalize the clinical trial process that depended on human activities. We will develop effective clinical trial environment and multiply the number of global clinical trials conducted in Japan. Through this new business, we are starting to eliminate drug loss. We will work to shorten the time period until launch of new drugs and diversify treatment options.
Otsuka-san.
Thank you, Otsuka-san. Now, we would like to move on to talk about the new business strategy to resolve drug loss. Araki-san, the floor is yours. My name is Araki, head of Healthy Living. First of all, I would like to touch upon why there is an issue of drug loss in Japan. New drug development starts from basic research to clinical trial and go through the process of submission and approval. This clinical trial is conducted on a global scale in many cases, and this is called as the global study. In order to expeditiously deploy new drug in Japan, there is a need to achieve global study in Japan. However, NHI drug policy and there is peculiarity of the environment in Japan, and currently there are many cases where Japan is excluded from the global study. This shows the number of cumulative global study in the world. From the United States, Germany, and Canada, Japan is 23rd and only 6th in Asia, which is the current status. Under such circumstances, how can we grow the number of global studies in Japan? In the first place, the clinical trials can be divided into two phases, which are planning and implementation. This time, we would like to solve the issues in this planning stage. To be more specific, leveraging medical data to deploy clinical trial platform and offering to automate clinical trial document management. We would like to introduce the two. In the planning of the clinical trial, up to now, the pharmaceutical company first of all plans the clinical trial, and next the CRO will do the site selection, which will apply with the conditions, and from there, the sites will recruit patients. It was a unilateral process. In this case, the pharmaceutical companies are not able to grasp the actual situation of the sites on a real-time basis, and it was time-consuming to find the patients who are the subject of the clinical trial, and if it is not successful, there is a need for revision of the conditions, and there was major loss as a result of that. However, more recently, the real-time data which are collected by the medical institutions can be leveraged in the planning stage at the pharmaceutical companies. This is called as the clinical trial platform. Through this mechanism, from the initial stage of the planning, higher probability of success clinical trials can be designed, and we can reduce the time significantly. Through the medical data, the pharmaceutical company which plans the clinical trial and the medical institutions which conduct the clinical trials can have dialogues. So now this planning process of the clinical trial is having the paradigm shift from the monologue type to dialogue type. This new approach is to be introduced in Japan, and the answer we arrived at is to have the partnership with the US paradigm. The company is deploying the most advanced clinical trial platform in the world, and going forward, Fujitsu's Healthy Living platform will conduct the processing and the collection of the data from the medical institutions, and that data will be analyzed and provided as values to the pharmaceutical companies by Paradigm. Under the strong leadership of Kent, CEO of the company who is here today, last year, although still Series A, $203 million have been raised as an extraordinary amount of capital from renowned VCs. Already, they have the partnership with 16 pharmaceutical companies, 40 health systems, and 940 medical institutions. Now, from Kent, we would like to hear how he will be able to change the world by delivering values. Kent, over to you.
Thank you, Tatsuki, for that introduction and for sharing the critical vision for new patient future in Japan that Fujitsu is creating. I'm Ken Thoelke. I'm the CEO of Paradigm. When I founded Paradigm, it was with a similar vision to what Fujitsu is solving with Uvance Healthy Living, that every single patient should have access to the best possible care, inclusive of a clinical trial as a care option. No patient should lack access to these treatment options as a result of where they live, their background, their socioeconomic status, their physician, or the medical institution where they're being treated. This includes the disparities that are created by the drug loss problem created by global clinical development trial strategies. What we have created a paradigm with our platform is a new future for clinical research care that leverages all of the latest advancements in digital technology, large language models, and analytics to maximize the efficiency of clinical trials. While the biopharma industry has made significant advances in bringing life-saving and life-changing medications to market over the last several decades, the clinical trial process and the methodology has failed to keep pace with the technological advances to leverage access to medical data at scale, allowing us to design and execute clinical trials more efficiently. This has resulted in far too few patients globally, and specifically in Japan, having access to clinical trials, unacceptably long timelines to bring new drugs to market, and as a result, drug development costs that are no longer sustainable by the biopharma industry. Our model and our partnership with Fujitsu will allow us to solve these problems, with the result being more efficient clinical trials that are widely available to the patients in Japan that need them, while lowering the costs and the timelines to bring these new drugs to market. For the biopharma industry, one of the major challenges today is that clinical trials recruit patients far too slowly. This results in long delays in getting data to support these trials and bringing new drugs to market and driving research and development costs up to a level that is now limiting their ability to expand their drug pipelines to bring these new drugs to market. By creating a data-driven model with Fujitsu that leverages the most current technology and embedding this platform within the healthcare delivery model, clinical trials become accessible to virtually all potential patients in Japan. As Paradigm has demonstrated in the United States, this scaled access model can significantly increase patient trial recruitment, and biopharma can potentially decrease their time by years to bring new drugs to market in a more robust financial model, allowing them to put even more drugs into development. For physicians and medical institutions, this new model allows the ability to ensure that every patient has access to the best possible treatment options, including clinical trials as a care option for those patients in Japan. It ensures that patients being treated in Japan by world-class physicians and institutions have the same access to the latest and most innovative drugs and treatment options that are available outside of the United States. One of the challenges that physicians and medical institutions have today is that clinical trials are time-consuming to participate in, and they require a significant amount of manual labor and investment by physicians, nurses, and data teams to conduct the clinical trials, care for the patient, and then collect the necessary data to ensure that the drugs they're evaluating are safe and efficacious. Fujitsu and Paradigm intend to solve this problem by deploying the Paradigm platform to hospitals in Japan, leveraging data integrations with Fujitsu's Healthy Living platform to minimize the labor needed to conduct these clinical trials. Also, to minimize the amount of work and the process for efficiently matching clinical patients into clinical trials and then collecting their data in support of those clinical trials. This will allow Japanese physicians and medical institutions to participate in many more clinical trials without the need for increasing their internal labor and costs. Paradigm is honored to be partnering with Fujitsu to deploy our clinical trial platform to hospitals throughout Japan to realize our shared vision of resolving drug loss in Japan. We are excited that this partnership is much more than simply deploying this platform. We are collaborating together to develop new solutions that enhance the health and well-being of patients in Japan. My expectation is that this industry-leading partnership will reduce or eliminate drug loss in Japan. By creating one of the most efficient clinical trial models in the world, Japan should be included in all global clinical trials, while simultaneously ensuring Japanese patients have the same access at the same time to innovative drug therapies that can positively impact their lives.
Thank you, Kent, for the presentation.
Through this partnership, Fujitsu will exclusively roll out Paradigm's clinical trial platform. It is not just about rolling it out. We will be playing an important role of collecting and processing data necessary for the clinical trial platform to truly contribute to the market. Fujitsu has already rolled out Healthy Living platform, which is a foundation for utilization of medical data to medical institutions. With regards to data processing, our data talents are developing engines based on LLM developed by Fujitsu Institute. We have already gotten up to a level where medical terms are extracted at high precision. In addition to the in-house technology, we will be working going forward to improve our technology process data in a short time, including our collaboration with Paradigm, as well as partnership with Cohere, and thereby acquiring various technology and know-how. In utilizing the medical data, National Cancer Center Hospital East is a hospital that has been quick to come on board and have been collaborating with us on this initiative. Under the strong initiative of Dr. Goto, who is the Deputy Director, genome screening project in the field of lung cancer under industry and academia collaboration is going on, and under the current initiative, the hospital is aiming to further improve the clinical trial environment through reducing the burden of medical institution side. We would like to now invite Dr. Goto to talk about the hospital's initiatives and expectations they have for this project. Dr. Goto, please. Hello, everyone. My name is Goto from the National Cancer Center Hospital East, from the head of respiratory medicine. Taking lung cancer as an example, I would like to talk about how the personalized medicine for lung cancer has been advanced, and also how to eliminate the drug loss by advancing it further. First is the selection of the lung cancer treatment selection. This is 20 years ago. So the treatment drug was decided upon the form of the lung cancer cells. But there was advancement of the basic research, and in the area of small cell lung cancer, BDCE driver genes had been identified, and now the doctors are able to select molecular target drugs which would be able to treat it specifically. These genetic changes, A, B, C, D, E, this is rare fraction. Only 3% of the lung cancer have this gene change. So identifying those patients, conducting clinical trial, it would be very difficult because of this rarity. Because of that, we created a foundation called LC Scrum Asia. So towards a rare fraction, we will be targeting to provide them effective treatment. In the past 10 years, we have been working on exactly that. This is the overview of LSCRUM Asia. And our institution is the headquarters, and Premia, which is the startup, acts as the data center, and the gene analysis is being made, and we would work to create a new drug therapy. More than 20 companies are supporting us, and they have provided us free of charge the genetic analysis equipment. We now have 20,000 registrations of lung cancer patients. This is the result of the analysis. You see color coding, and as you can see, most are less than 3%, meaning it's rare fraction. So screening these patients and bringing them to clinical trials, as you can see, would be very difficult because of this rarity. But through our initiative, we have been able to identify those rare fractions, and we have been able to register them to clinical trials. So these are the rare fractions, which are all less than 3%. And we have been able to screen a sufficient number of patients which would enable clinical trial, and this would lead to global study in Japan, which would then lead to the elimination of drug loss. Last year, in the New England Journal of Medicine, there is a paper on selpercatinib, and so this is about repotrectinib. This is a treatment for the lung cancer with the occurrence of less than 1%. And Japan was able to participate in this clinical trial because of the LC Scrum Asia, and we were able to identify the rare fraction lung cancer patients. And the molecular target drugs treatment had been approved due to our initiatives, and we have been able to contribute a lot to the advancement of personalized medicine. So gene analysis will be made, and the drivers will be identified, and the relevant treatment will be provided to the patient. So that's the personalized medicine. In the past, the genetic analysis reporting was analyzed by the researchers, and the patients were referred to the clinical trials. But going forward, Fujitsu and Paradigm will be supporting us in reducing the manual work, and systematic gene analysis could be made, and that would contribute greatly to the advancement of personalized medicine. So far, we have registered 20,000 patients, and we have been connecting them to personalized medicine. So together with Fujitsu and Paradigm, we would like to expand this. So there were many patients, their families, and pharmaceutical companies who have collaborated with us for this initiative. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Goto.
This time at Fujitsu, by combining with this paradigm clinical trial platform, we are offering new patient-centric clinical trials, enormous document generation, which are required for clinical trials, will be automated as a service. Hamamatsu-san, who is responsible for this, would like to explain, introducing the demos as well. Over to you. Hamamatsu from Healthy Living. From now, let me introduce the offering of patient-centric clinical trials. This offering is what the sites and the pharmaceutical companies are facing in clinical trials, such as the leveraging of the clinical trial data and the efficiencies of the business, which are lacking labor, and to aim for the resolution with data and AI. What I'm going to introduce today is to leverage clinical trial specific LLM and the SaaS, which automate and generate for the generation of the document. Pharmaceutical companies need to prepare documents, and by spending 6 months, informed consent and investigators' brochures will be prepared. And through clinical trials, over 100 types of documents will be prepared by spending over 20,000 hours. And for the data analysis, 3 months will be required. The keys to resolving this issue will be at the step to prepare the protocol. Now I would like to show you the demo. Pharmaceutical companies do prepare the gist as I'm showing the plan for clinical trial. In order to launch studies, these include the objectives and the endpoints of the study. Here, you will be able to upload what is prepared in the existing format of each pharmaceutical company. Then the AI will analyze the content structure by paragraph, and the tag is provided, which is in compliance with the industry global standard and stored in database. Normally, it is required to do this through the manual labor, which requires enormous amount of labor, and this is evaluated as innovative from the companies who are introduced with this plan. Now, based on the gist of the protocol, AI will prepare the document based on the uploaded protocol. Select the template of the document which is intended to be generated, and here it prepares the protocol by summarizing the information of the clinical trial or transcribing content from the appropriate area or to output in the form of bullet points. The legally compliant document can be prepared, being conscious of the appropriate information. Furthermore, for patients, we are able to rephrase to enhance the understanding of the patients on the clinical trial, and it is also possible to translate into each language in the global study. If there is a correction through the human review, it is possible to re-upload, maintain the latest information, preparing the document. At that time, it is possible to reflect the more accurate information. The large amount of the document which are prepared are basically based on the protocol. From multiple divisions, gist is prepared, and based on that, limited number of professional people are preparing this, which is the reality. In our company, we have track record, and we are well versed in the document and data format based on the laws and regulation, and we are leading the data standardization in the industry based on CDISC. By leveraging that know-how, it is possible to create a highly accurate protocol, and based on that, it allows to have the mechanism for the automatic generation of various data. In LLM, which have been developed, we are having the AI technology called RAG, and by combining that, we are trying to suppress the wrong information generation. Furthermore, clinical trial related information can be managed through this offering, not only the generation of the clinical trial submission documents, but even after the clinical trial, and it is also possible to cover the post-marketing documents. Up to now, the fragmented data in the process of the clinical trial can be integrated and trying to transform on an end-to-end. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Mr. Hamamatsu, for your presentation.
製薬企業との
In the demonstration experiment with pharmaceutical company, we have succeeded in the automatic generation of 80% of the document using LLM. According to our estimate, we believe that the documentation creation time can be halved. Patient-centric clinical trials would be able to overwhelmingly make the document creation work more efficient, as well as speeding up the process. So we have been talking about initiatives for the paradigm shift in clinical trial planning. I would like to ask Dr. Goto and Kent to come back up on stage, and we will talk in the context of personalized medicine, which is a bigger paradigm shift, and talk about how the change in the clinical trial would bring about change. So first, I would like to ask Dr. Goto. In your presentation, you talked about personalized medicine, and through genetic analysis, you would be able to have a more precise diagnosis. So reducing the burden of the medical institution side, what would be made possible in the future? What was not possible in the past? Could you talk a little bit about that? Genetic analysis can be done under NHI coverage of identifying what the genetic change is. However, even after the identification of the genetic change, that information may not reach the patients, but the accurate information can be reaching the patient through this initiative. The patients would try to enroll in the clinical trial if there is no existing drug, and this information reaching the patients would lead them to register into the clinical trials, and the hospitals in the rural area would also be able to receive these kind of state-of-the-art information. Now, I would like to ask Kent, going forward, with the innovation in the clinical trial area, there would be change in personalized medicine. Where is the biggest priority for you? What is the biggest challenge that you want to tackle on? So if you could comment on that, I would appreciate it.
And Goto-san mentioned as well, finding patients for clinical trials is already very, very challenging. The amount of data that's being generated today with new technologies like NGS and genomic testing is even more challenging. And so it makes it incredibly valuable for us and challenging at the same time to leverage large language models and new technology to read all of a patient's charts and match them to a trial. The first problem we have to solve is to get more patients into clinical trials at a faster pace. Once we do that, as was mentioned by Fujitsu today, the ability to collect all of the data necessary to understand how new drugs are working in patients is hundreds of thousands of data points. Today, all of that data is manually entered by staff at hospitals like NCCH East. The model we're creating with Fujitsu takes away the majority of that manual labor. All of the information we have is already electronic, and so we're duplicating that. So the next big challenge is to make sure that we can move all of that data very quickly, systematically, and efficiently to determine whether or not drugs are safe and efficacious as part of the clinical trial process.
ありがとうございます。おそらく
Thank you very much. So the collection and processing of the medical data I think that there are a lot of difficulties associated with it, and I think this will be continued. This difficulty will be continued for some time. Of course, we will utilize our in-house technology, and together with Paradigm or the partnership with Cohere, we will be introducing state-of-the-art initiatives to Japan to expand the possibilities. I think the clinical trial field assumes the precise diagnosis, and also a provision of personalized medicine will be coming next, and we are in transition phase. As Dr. Goto and Kent have mentioned, we need to utilize data more, and there are many things that we need to work on. And also, there are a lot of development in the modality for the treatment of the diseases. There are many challenges that we need to overcome. So maybe our initiative would be able to bridge the research and development by letting the data flow into each other. And I think that through this, a new treatment may be born. That's the expectation that I have. Dr. Goto, Kent, thank you very much.
今回発表いたしました
The business that we announced today is the new business model challenge as Fujitsu Uvance. By introducing IT system, it is not a kind of a model to seek for revenue model, but clinical trial is planned and implemented, but as a result of that, we can have continued revenue generation. This is the model. Together with the growth of the customers, our business will grow along with that as a model. Through this initiative, not to mention about domestic market, but we can deliver values to the overseas pharmaceutical companies. The data that can be generated from Japan can be deployed in the global market. As you can see, healthcare and life science can be connected, and because it is cross-industry initiative, difficult to resolve clinical trial transformation, which can be only done by industry, can be something we would like to address. In this announcement, through medical data, ecosystem connecting medical institutions and pharmaceutical companies will be created to deliver paradigm shift to clinical trial. Beyond the planning stage of the clinical trial, we would like to also address the challenges in the implementation stage. Here, again, we have proprietary issues in Japan, and together with the diversified partners, we would like to resolve jointly. From planning to the implementation of the clinical trial, we would like to establish end-to-end process as Fujitsu Group. By 2030, we would like to generate the business of 20 billion yen. We will reduce the time to market of the drugs, and we will provide the state-of-the-art drugs, and we will also increase the number of the global studies and offer more treatment options to the patients. Eliminating drug loss in Japan, and anyone is able to choose the treatment. And as Fujitsu, we would like to create a better world for everyone. Thank you very much for your attention.